Hello and welcome. I'm Cecilia Mazeka. We're living in unprecedented times when business as usual is not an option. Companies have had to respond and adapt to a digital-first culture in order to stay productive and competitive. We've seen how technology has not only worked as an enabler, but also as a force for good. So what is the new norm like? During this program, you're going to hear from industry experts who will share insights and tips on how to navigate this new digital way of life. This isn't just a show about how businesses react to the pandemic. It's an action plan for you and your business to accelerate your digital transition, your growth strategy, and innovation. So to kick off, let's bring in our reporter, Simone Heng. Simone, given the sheer number of people who are now working remotely, what digital solutions will help companies respond to this new reality?
To contain the spread of the coronavirus, over 90 countries recommended confinements, curfews, and quarantines, resulting in millions of people working from home. On average, companies deploy 9 different types of technologies to stay connected and productive. But this is rapidly increasing. And along with the demand for the right kind of technology is an increase in the demand for the right kind of people to manage it and make the most of it. But along with embracing tech solutions, companies must also rise to the challenges and risks that come hand in hand with digital innovation. Luckily, there are solutions which we'll delve further into later in the show. But for now, back to the studio.
Let's take a look at this report to see how businesses have responded to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The world we were so used to has changed over just a few months. We've all been responding to the so-called new normal, with new ways of communicating, working, and living our daily lives.
那在这样的工作节奏下，其实在家工作会无意识地延长了工作时间。
We'd only been set up just over a year and we were building, we were getting strong, and then it all had to stop.
日本とか韓国、台湾のお客さんとは時差も同じで、家でこうやってPC とかスクリーンがあって、こう音楽を聴きながら。
But despite the initial shock, millions of businesses have shown resiliency in the face of adversity. And productivity has remained a possibility for many brands, thanks to the adoption of digital solutions.
For us, obviously, it's been how we transform our organization, but also how do our products then help our customers go faster in the future? How do we help them adjust to this radically distributed workforce, the biggest migration of the workforce in human history in such a short period of time? So connecting up, securing those individuals, helping them to truly establish the new work models for education, for telemedicine, for distributed workforce.
In response to the crisis, business leaders have had to consider the needs of their employees on the one hand, their well-being and their ability to stay connected, and on the other hand, productivity and the ability to keep going forward.
We also relied on the digital tools that we have been investing over the years, where people are starting to pick up the new ways of collaborating so that they can stay productive and continue to work with each other. We have to ensure that the infrastructure remains stable, scalable, and we were able to do that very safely throughout the period.
やはり我々が無事にこのコロナ禍においてもビジネスを継続できているのは、やはり起こるべき未来を逆算して、そういうデジタルトランスフォーメーションに対して、適切な投資を行ってきたから、今があると思っているんですね。
But not all sectors have been able to respond in the same way. Industries like healthcare, financial services, and education are proving to be agile and have pivoted thanks to digital solutions. But other sectors are less able to adapt to the current climate and have been hit hard, such as retail, hospitality, and the travel industry, which require a face-to-face customer service approach. But the question on everyone's mind is this just a phase? What areas of our business should we adapt, evolve, and change? And how do we build a stronger and more secure future?
因为一旦一个企业的应用全部都建立在云原生态的基础上，实际上 我们真正的生态的合作伙伴就是这个企业的每一个工作人员，因为他们既是使用者，也是开发者。
Typically, work at home involves that we upgrade our infrastructure at the back end to ensure that people are able to connect securely and they get what they want while working from home. So we really had to fine-tune our infrastructure, upgrade our BCP plans immediately to ensure that we could support this transition.
After the enabling our virtual desktop and remote desktop technologies, we published some of the critical applications on the cloud, again with the help of VMware, so that those applications are available as if the people are working in their offices.
Right now, targeted digital solutions seem to offer a light at the end of the tunnel, at a time when businesses need it the most.
There's an opportunity here to get some of the things that were on the roadmap brought forward so we can get the benefit of those sooner. Whether that be the remote working, being able to administer the machine from home because it's based on a cloud technology, whether it's the CRM that we have using Salesforce, being able to access that securely via working from home. The move to bring some of those services to be more cloud native has become a lot more important. When you start talking about cloud services, people are now more cognizant of that that's an enabler and we should maybe listen a little bit differently.
No matter how a business will have chosen to pivot, the COVID-19 era will always remain synonymous with a time when a digital-first culture was not just an option, it was a question of survival.
Joining us now to talk more about this is Sanjay Poonen, the COO of VMware. Thanks for joining us, Sanjay. How are things where you are with regards to working remotely and getting through this pandemic?
Well, Cecilia, I think it was in January that the last time I got on a plane, and that was to the World Economic Forum at Davos. Clearly, COVID-19 had developed in China, but the world hadn't known about it. There was several thousands of us at Davos. And then I think the two things I remember way back to March was really prioritizing what we felt was the most important thing for the health and safety of our employees and communicating to them that nothing was more important. The profits of VMware would wait. The more important thing was taking care of their families, them taking care of their older ones, because every day and week we were starting to learn more about COVID-19. And once we got that under control, the next thing we began to really think about was, if we were healthy, how do we turn our attention to our customers? So I look back and the lessons I have learned is take care of your employees and take care of your customers.
What enabled you to respond to the needs of your customers in a way that they needed you to in this time of crisis?
Both for our personal lives of our adults and certainly for our kids' lives, we want to be able to protect our privacy, protect our data, protect our identity. We have been focused on, because VMware's proposition is to make that infrastructure simple, right? That's our proposition in end-user computing. We called out this term 6-7 years ago, consumer simple, enterprise secure. And we've been driving to build our digital technologies. It's called Workspace ONE, a digital workplace, to really be driven by the consumer principles of simplicity. So as we have been building identity management, security, all of these things into our platform, we've been looking to make it really simple, but also secure. And those are two opposite forces that are at attention with each other. Think of security like a brake and simplicity like an accelerator. Then as you think about the second part of your question, which is, well, how do you protect yourselves as your children are using online platforms and so on? We began to, as we worked with Zoom, and there were early days, there were concerns about Zoom bombing and a variety of other things. Our CISO is one of the security advisors to Zoom. We're both mutual customers of each other. We began to work together with Zoom on security capabilities that we could help them there with, as well as also as a customer, give them advice of what they could do to their platform to make it more secure. And out of that collaboration came features that Zoom's built that has made Zoom even more secure.
With employees accessing data and using different devices, what did you do to ensure their protection and safety online?
So that combination of Workspace ONE and Carbon Black makes the laptop and device both more managed and more secure. And it's a beautiful combination. VMware is one of the few companies that has both of those. But that's not sufficient. What ends up happening is that you also want to accelerate the network capabilities to your home and make that secure. And that's a technology in our networking portfolio called SD-WAN. We acquired a company called VeloCloud. So we added that third component of network acceleration so that you could have secure and fast network access, in your homes or in the branch offices. So that combination of Workspace ONE, Carbon Black, and VeloCloud really became a future-ready work from anywhere kind of solution set.
Thank you, Sanjay. Well, overnight, it seemed the world has changed. And after the initial reactions, companies had to adapt and make the right moves. They had to consider the fact that their employees will be stuck at home for a while, as did their customers. What digital solutions enable them to stay agile and flexible? Simone Heng tells us more.
Business as usual is out. Adapting, readjusting, revising, and accommodating is in.
其实每次在家工作的这段时间，每次要去办公室的时间，都会是一次特别珍惜的一次机会，然后可以跟同事之间去交流更多大家的近况。
Employees don't come with the same life circumstances. Working from home may not work for them.
例えば遠方に住んでいたり、違う国に住んでいたりとかっていうところだったりすると、いちいち来れなかったりするところもカットできるかなと。そうすることでオフィスをそこまで大きくしなくてもっていうところもあるので、コストカットにもなるかなと思います。
Digital solutions are helping businesses adapt to a new way of operating, both in-house and with their customers.
If I want to have a business that thrives, that people can function and be high performing, then I need to create an experience in the organization where my people know that they can feel safe to move fast, that agility is okay.
VMware did a survey which showed the main benefits of modern, cloud-native apps during the pandemic for businesses. 97% of businesses have seen some success, big or small, from their digital transformation efforts. There's also been a shift in focus for digital transformation to improve the employee experience and to improve the customer experience too. During this time, the most successful organizations have focused on delivering a digital journey, because even just a 5% increase in customer retention can increase a company's profitability by 75%. Working from home has become a way of life for millions of people, with most companies choosing to do most of their internal and external business online. But to what extent will the disruption caused by the pandemic affect productivity going forward?
Our backend infrastructure from a network perspective had to scale. Then the other scale came from the cloud as we deployed apps, security apps on the workstations. That directly came from the cloud. And this really helped in terms of the reach, right? Because Concentrix is a global company and we want a single view of all our assets. And once you are on cloud, that becomes really easy.
当然，除了视频会议以外，其他的这个方面的这个自动化办公在云上边使用各种各样的工具也成为一个非常普遍的现象，使得人们在使用云的过程当中更简单、更方便、更容易，成本更低。
In the kind of February, March timeframe, we were doing some work already about exploring the work from home proposition. We have some cloud systems, obviously, but not everything was fully able to be used from home back in Feb. So initially when you move, it was excited, you're working from home, we've never done it before. Generally speaking, the productivity was up.
While the COVID-19 pandemic gets most of the media attention of late, companies across the world are adapting to new ways of working with the support of cloud technology.
然后把比较好的云上的服务呢，做一些整合标准、应用等等，然后提供给这个中小企业，让他们快速的衔接在这个新科技上，然后可以专注在它的本身事业的发展。
クラウドをうまく活用することによって、そういうふうな大量のハードウェアを購入することなく、セルのトラフィックをですね、効率よくさばくことができるようになりました。
It's also worth noting that while many take a digital culture for granted, it takes a lot of innovation, maintenance, and certainly doesn't come for free. And there is no one size fits all.
So realizing that a large proportion of your workforce will continue to work from home for a long period of time. And then of course that has its implications on your customer base as well, because many of those employees who are working from home will also be dealing with customers that'll be working from home. So making sure that there's technologies and solutions that embrace that. Some of the technologies that we've been looking at ourselves is things like robotic process automation, machine learning for the large volumes of data, to really understand the buying behaviors of customers, chatbots and automation as you engage with your end customers as well, and really thinking about those sorts of technologies. And the sort of networks that are needed to support that in the future. So I think having the conversation today to really start to think about as we come out of this post-COVID environment is really important.
Business leaders are now focusing on targeted investment in key foundational areas when it comes to their IT infrastructure.
Each and every desk of the employee in office, each and every meeting room has to be digitally enabled. So this is one of the clear roadmap. Second, making our development environments available on the cloud, either hybrid cloud or a public cloud. We need to be cautious about the cybersecurity aspect as well.
我们其实跟全球的大的科技公司合作，像VMware 啊、AWS 等这些大的国际的企业。那我们希望引进这些新的全球性的科技呢，那一方面就是可以协助台湾的企业可以很快速的跟这些科技结合起来。
Now we're all just adapting to this new normal way of working. And we all play a key part in shaping the next chapter of our digital future together.
Some great insights there. Simone, when companies strive to create a digital-first culture, there are challenges mixed in with the opportunities. One potential roadblock is cybercrime. Tell us more.
That's right, Cecilia. As businesses and employees are busy adapting, so are criminals. Let's take a look at these facts. Traditional security models are broken. From the beginning of February to the end of April 2020, cybercrime targeting financial institutions had grown by 238%. 82% of financial institutions surveyed said that cybercriminals had become more sophisticated in the last 12 months. Luckily, there are solutions. There are specific pillars that are key for an effective cybersecurity strategy. Verifying users by using multiple factors, only allowing users the minimum access required, and to regularly maintain and update IT systems known as patching. Making it as safe and secure as possible while millions of us are working remotely.
Thanks, Simone. This program aims to help you take your business faster to the future. We've seen how many different companies have responded and adapted to create a digital-first culture, but what's important for the future? How best can you move beyond the short term and make the right decisions for the long run? Let's take a look at how some business leaders are shaping their future.
We shouldn't be in a place where to be effective or to be promoted in a job or to be at a company, you have to work at their headquarters. I think that day and era is gone.
It's time for business leaders to look ahead and picture the next 10 years. As of now, the way that we behave, think, and communicate within society will be entirely enabled and driven by technology.
で、このコロナによってですね、 人々のそのオンライン購買体験というのはさらに促進されると思っていますので、引き続きその、試着というか、オンラインの購買体験を加速するようなところで、技術投資というか、新しい計測システムみたいなものとかっていうのも、今も、裏側ですね、たくさんいろいろやっていたりしますし、一つはここに投資していく、技術的な投資を含めていろいろしていくっていうのがあります。
I think with respect to transitioning to a very different setup, it's not just about the tools or it being digital. I think it's important to rally common ground across the organization for our teams to understand we're entering a very different type of environment, a very different type of setup. Problem solving together, absolutely key to get the buy-in for us to transition successfully to a more digital and remote working setup. We're very intentional about observing how businesses were changing, how consumer behavior was changing, and thereby we rolled out new products that suit both parties, businesses as well as our users.
所以保持企业的警觉，保持企业的弹性，那追随科技发展的脚步，最重要是把客户放在中心，永远满足客户的需求，这是保持一个企业永续经营非常重要的一个关键。
Businesses are embracing their newfound digital ecosystems. So as economies recover from the COVID-19 crisis, how do we accelerate and innovate to build a better, more resilient future?
I think it's important for any organization to try and stay ahead of the technology curve. Things are changing very, very rapidly nowadays, but we have to evaluate and make sure that the technology is fit for purpose for the organization. So in UOB, we do see that technology is something that we use to make banking services simple. We want to use technology to make banking services safe and reliable and efficient, right? So we see technology as an enabler. Of course, when we have all the tools that we have introduced, we use things like Teams for them to collaborate, for them to share some of the files that they are working on, but also to make sure that they stay engaged with each other. We roll out things like Yammer, which is a Facebook for corporates, for everybody to keep in touch and to actually stay connected to each other. Of course, along the way, we also introduce our digital training, where we roll out bite-sized training modules for people, where we talk about mental resilience, we talk about how do you stay engaged during this period where you're cooped up at home, and how do you ensure that you have a proper separation of time between what is your personal time and what is work time. We also relied on the digital tools that we have been investing over the years, where people are starting to pick up the new ways of collaborating so that they can stay productive and continue to work with each other.
テクノロジーが進化することによって、何が起きるかっていうと、本当に必要なものだけを本当に必要な分生産するっていう未来、いわゆる本当に無駄のない世界みたいなものっていうものが、技術の力によって実現させることができると思っています。
But a key factor when it comes to accelerating is not just technology, it's having the right talent.
人才是企业经营的最重要的资产。这个事情其实是非常的重要。在这个时代来临的时候呢，我们觉得人才的多元化是最重要的核心关键。
但是面对云，其实还是有很大的挑战，因为我们认为目前的工程师或者技术人员，他们对云的了解还是很有限的。
A digital-first solution is not just about enabling people to work from home or to remain operational in the short term.
It's about developing a more transparent, efficient, and sustainable way of working. And the transformation has only just begun.
Coming up next, Pat Gelsinger, CEO of VMware, joins us for a conversation. Many thanks for joining us, Pat. VMware has put a lot of thought in the idea that companies need to go faster to the future. Why does this matter?
Well, certainly for both us and how we operate, but even more importantly, how we work with our customers. And my one of my favorite mottos in this period of time has been Winston Churchill's "Never waste a good crisis." Well, we got a good one. So how do we embrace it and truly move faster to the future? When you think about telemedicine, it wasn't prevented before this, but it really wasn't done. I had to go to the office, find a parking spot, get my blood pressure up until I finally got into the doctor's office. And then I waited, and it wasn't a particularly efficient model. And telemedicine represented a tiny, tiny fraction of how the doctor-patient interaction happened. You have a crisis, boom, 100x increase in telemedicine. We could have done that before, but sometimes it takes a decade to make a week of progress, sometimes a week to make a decade of progress. So we've seen these industries, such as medicine, such as education, make radical transformations in very short periods of time. That's the exciting part, but then there's also the risk where, I remember I was interacting with one of the major health institutions in the United States. The biggest cyber attack in their history happened in this period of pandemic. And I'm like, don't the criminals have any conscience whatsoever? If there's one organization we want to be healthy in this period of time, it's our largest health organizations, please. So there clearly is risks such as cyber, but also opportunities such as health and education and distributed workforce. It really has been both of those simultaneously hitting at a rate, pace, and magnitude as never before in history.
Now that businesses have transitioned to the new normal, it's time for them to accelerate their business development. How best do you think they should do this?
Yeah, and we've clearly and rapidly developed a set of policies to first say it's in choice, right? Employees get to choose, are they going to come into the office or stay remote? Managers don't get to decide, employees get to decide. And obviously they have to work with their managers and teams and how this is going to work. And that choice has just taken the anxiety out of the room. You get to decide when you feel comfortable returning to the workplace. It's also what we found is taking little steps as well, where I've given people what we call EPIC. Our values, we call them the EPIC values: execution, passion, integrity, customer, and community. I've given them EPIC days, where we just had our second EPIC day last week, where I said the entire company is taking an extra day off. You need to rest. You need to be rejuvenated. You need to engage with your family and just have some personal time, because the days start earlier. One Zoom meeting rolls into the next Zoom meeting, into the next Zoom. You get Zoom butt by the end of the day, as I've joked. Weekends roll. One day sort of becomes the next day. Let's take some breaks. And if you send me an email on an EPIC day, you're in trouble.
Working remotely is here to stay. What inspires you when you think of this for the next 10 years?
Well, I've been in the field of technology now for 40 years. The opportunity of technology is so dramatic. We're touching every human on the planet. By 2030, we will have connected literally 90% of humanity will have a persistent connection to the network. Right? We're seeing technologies like AI and 5G provide such extraordinary ability to improve the quality of life for every human on the planet. And I would just say, if you're in technology, you have this opportunity to touch the quality of life for humanity. And to me, that is so empowering. And as we think about our role at VMware, hey, we're excited about the products we do. We're excited about the customers. But ultimately, we're working for a bigger cause that truly is shaping humanity in ways that were never possible before. And we simply call it tech for good. How do we shape technology as a force for good?
How do you think technology can be used as an even greater force for good?
Well, most technologies are neutral. They're neither good nor bad. It's how we use them. And they can be the printing press that brings education to everybody, or they can be used for propaganda and unrest. Is it good or bad? So the technology by itself is nominally neutral, and it's how we shape it as this force for good. And every day decisions are made, right, on how the technology's evolved, how they're used for good. And powerful tools like AI, if we don't know why it's made certain decisions, it might be making bad decisions. So we need to make sure that every step along the way, we have good ethical conversations about them. And we have to say the people involved in the technologies are truly driving them to be forces for good. And we think about examples today, like radiology. AI-assisted radiology consistently produces better results at identifying cancers, other tumors, etc. So we should all use AI-assisted radiology. We're clearly seeing examples in education where all of a sudden we could take a lot of the rote work out such that teachers can now be much more effective at engaging where they're actually needed. I believe that we can utilize technology to feed humans and solve the distribution problems. We have enough food, we just can't get it to the right places. I believe that technology can be used to provide an education for every child on the planet, including the 250 or 300 million in extreme poverty. Those things truly will change the quality of life for the planet. And those are the purposes, the causes that we're striving for that are bigger than we as a company or our products are. We truly can improve the planet by this wonderful, amazing power of technology. And that's the journey that we're on.
Thank you, Pat. You've given us a lot to think about. We hope you've enjoyed the show. But before we go, we leave you with this question. How do you think technology can better support humanity and be a more powerful force for good? Send us your insights on Twitter @VMware. Thanks for watching and stay safe.